morning, everyone. My name is Cassie Hopkins, and I coordinate the webinars for Hausman Johnson Insurance. I would like to welcome you to today's webinar on the life cycle of a workers' compensation claim by Peg Kramer. Today's webinar will run the full hour. If there is time after the webinar, we will have a question and answer session. If you have a question during the webinar, feel free to type it into the question feature, and Peg will address it. After the webinar is over, there will be a short survey we are hoping you can fill out for us. This webinar has been certified for continuing education credits by the Society for Human Resources Management and the Human Resources Certification Institute. Details on those credits will be provided to you at the conclusion of this webinar. Also, please be aware that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for review on the webinar archives for our website. If you do not want to participate in a recorded webinar, you may want to close the application at this time. You will receive a follow-up email from GoToWebinar with a link to the recording and a presentation slide. I would now like to introduce you to our presenter for today's webinar, Peg Kramer. Peg found her way to Hausman Johnson Insurance in 2014 over a serendipitous lunch with a former coworker. She uses her 20-plus years of experience in the claims field to be a champion for clients when they are faced with difficult situations. Peg's word is solid. She is tenacious and will go to great lengths to problem solve to provide the right answers. Peg believes that Wisconsin has the fairest and most equitable workers' compensation program in the nation for both the employee and the employer. She prides herself in educating clients on what their options are under the program and how it prevents accidents, work with injured workers, and to save money doing it. She has a wealth of knowledge on this topic, and we are very thankful that she could share some of her wisdom with us today. Welcome, Peg.
Thank you, Cassie, and good morning, everyone. What a beautiful day in Wisconsin today. We're going to talk today about workers' compensation, and my goals for you, or for myself, hopefully, will be successful. I would like to save money for your company. I would like to empower you through education on workers' compensation. I'd like to make your job easier. I'd like you to consider me as a resource, even if you're not a client. And I want to make you look good to your management team. So let's begin, and we will have time after the seminar for any questions that you have. And please ask questions. Don't be afraid to do so. So the life cycle of a workers' compensation claim. Definitely there's a birth, there's a life to the claim, and closure or death. And you, as the employer, need to know what is involved at each point, because ultimately you're paying for the claim. And any claim that occurs will affect your premium that you pay when you renew your policy. So hang on, we have a lot of information, but it's good, and here we go. In Wisconsin, there's two types of injuries that can occur to your employees in the workplace. There's occupational injuries and there's traumatic injuries. An example of an occupational injury would be as a worker as a result of repetitive work or doing the same work task over a number of years, and their shoulders wear out or their knees wear out. Examples of this would be our drywall workers, carpet layers, construction work, heavy lifting, where you're lifting not only heavy items but bulky items. An employee who presents a claim for a shoulder condition, claiming that due to working in the industry for 15 years, his shoulder is worn out. That would certainly be a valid claim to present. An instance of a traumatic injury would be one where your employee fell down the steps or fell off a ladder and broke their hip, tripped on something, on an object, fell, car accident while in the course of employment. Those are traumatic incidents where there's a specific incident that occurs. So how do I know what to report? This is the beginning. This is the birth of the claim. So all workers' compensation claims should be reported directly to your insurance carrier. Prior to any claims, you do want to have the conversation with your insurance agent and the claims staff, either at the agency or at the insurance company, as to what procedure you should be following when faced in a claim. When faced with a claim, you don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive and know what to do before you have to do it. Some of you will never have a claim. Some of you will have a claim once in a while, and you may, need to review and refresh what you need to do, and you're always welcome to call the agency on that. And some of you probably might have claims on a weekly basis, so you're well versed on how to do this. So first of all, do you know the difference between your insurance agent and your insurance carrier? Your agent places the insurance needs that you have as a company with the appropriate insurance carrier. So Hausman Johnson Insurance Agency is an agent, and our clients, we place your business insurance with what we feel is the appropriate carrier and culture for your needs. So depending on the nature of your business, you may have several different insurance carriers. Most likely you will not. You get a better deal when you bundle your services with an insurance carrier, but that can happen. So the insurance carrier examples of names would be Society Insurance, West Bend Insurance, Travelers, Liberty Mutual, Zurich, Cincinnati, Society Insurance, and many of those are regional companies that are domiciled here in Wisconsin. But it is the insurance carrier that investigates and works with you to resolve the claim. Now, continuing, how do I know what to report? Many types of injuries can be treated at your work site without having to take the employee in for medical treatment, and that's the key, and we're going to talk about that a little bit further. So example, if they got a foreign body in the eye from working on the line and something flew in their eye, that can be flushed out at a wash station. And medical treatment outside of the workplace is not required. So this type of situation, you could report to your carrier as an incident only. Now, your agent and your insurance carrier may want you to report all incidents, which would include on-site medical treatment, as well as medical treatment that's required outside of your business. And there's a reason for that. Number one, it enables your insurance carrier to track any trends that you may have that are occurring for a number of reasons, or you have multiple locations. And it enables the employer and loss control staff within your company and with the insurance carrier to dial into specific areas that need to be evaluated. If there's a lot of listing problems or back claims in a certain area, maybe different tools need to be initiated, job rotation, equipment that needs to be purchased that could take away the lifting of objects to lessen the claims that are presented for backs. So my rule of thumb is this: if your employee seeks medical care and a medical bill is generated, you need to report that claim to your insurance carrier. The Office of the Insurance Commissioner in the state of Wisconsin does not want employers to pay for smaller claims. It's not a statute or a rule that you can be fined, but they strongly suggest that all claims be reported to your insurance carrier to expedite. So in Wisconsin and in each state, we have a Wisconsin Compensation Rating Bureau, and that's one of the regulatory agents that are responsible for setting rate, setting policies, and establishing your experience mod, which is your report card for your business. And so they're a regulatory agency if you're domiciled in Wisconsin. They also frown on you paying for medical claims directly inside your business. So they want everything reported. Could you be considered in bad faith? Possibly. And you need to let the insurance carrier do their own investigation. That's what you pay the big premiums for. And we don't want claims to get out of hand. And we want them reported timely so that the insurance company isn't backpedaling on their investigations. Also, most insurance carriers have cost containment programs where they receive medical discounts on medical treatment at hospitals, physical therapy, clinics, MRIs, X-rays, and those savings are passed on to you, the employer. So, how do we report a claim? First of all, do you know, there's a couple of ways. Many companies have direct reporting through their website portal that can use, so online reporting is available. Many employers still use the employer's first report of injury, which is a state form called a WC-12, and you can fill that out and send it in or fax it in or attach as an email. But have you ever seen this? Do you know what it is? Do you know where you can find it in your office? And do you know where to send the form? So this is crucial information you need to know before a claim occurs. So what are these forms? Where do I send them to? And who gets a copy? Most times, on the top of the form, when we're going to look at it, it'll say to report these directly to the state of Wisconsin. Most insurance carriers will report a claim for you on your behalf, so you don't need to copy in the Workers' Compensation Division. And remember, the Workers' Compensation Division of Wisconsin is only tracking claims where lost time or time away from work is happening. They don't track medical-only claims. So time is of the essence when a claim occurs. Our insurance carriers ask us to relay to you to please, with the notification from your employee, you report these claims within 24 to 48 hours from the time that you're being made aware of an incident. Now here's why. This is the biggie. In Wisconsin, your insurance carrier only has 14 days from the last day the date of injury to investigate, evaluate, and initiate benefits to all claims involving more than 3 days of lost time. If they do not make that initial on-time payment, they can be fined 10% of the first payment made. If you fail to report claims on a timely basis, you as the employer can be fined 10% of the initial payment, and that's something that comes out of your pocket. That is not the responsibility of the insurance carrier. So just remember that. You can be fined or your insurance carrier can be fined. So it's very important that you get that claim in as soon as possible. Medical records are very, very hard to get nowadays. Sometimes it takes 30 to 45 days to get medical records, and I'm not fooling around when I tell you that. What our claim adjusters have to go through and the hoops they have to jump through to get medical records is horrific. So, and remember, they're handling other claims, as well as your own. So they need to take statements. They need to evaluate information, try to talk to the doctor's office, talk to you, and initiate payments, as well as handling bills that come in. So please, 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 if you want to save money, that's the best tip I can give you, is to report your claims timely. So this is kind of cut in half. This is the employer's first report of injury. Once again, it is a state form. And that's the form if you're not reporting online with your insurance carrier. This is a form that is used to complete. So on the left-hand side where it's black and it says employee, employer, this is what I instruct our clients. Under the employee section, that section must be completed in its entirety. Now, please don't wait to report this if you're missing one of the portions of this report. Fill in what you can, because you are going to receive a call and acknowledgement from an assigned adjuster at your insurance carrier for further information anyway. Most companies have a 24-hour rule as part of their best practices. So when a claim is received by your carrier, they make a call to you first, then to your injured employee, and then to the physician's office. So they're going to make a 3-point contact. But it is imperative that they're going to want all the information under that section. Under employer, this is what I tell everyone. Under employer, please put your business name as written on the policy, and that is on line 1. We don't need your address because we know who you are, or your insurance carrier should know who you are. But I would skip down to line 4, and if you know the name of your insurance carrier, put that in there in your policy number if you know it. If you don't, you can call your insurance agent and get that information. Now, we're getting to sections 3 and 4, wage information. If this is a medical-only claim, and truly there's not going to be any lost time more than 3 days, you do not need to fill that out. However, and I stress however, if this is a lost time, all of that information must be completed, because the Workers' Compensation Division strictly monitors how much you have paid your employee, and they base calculations to determine what to pay your employee based on 2/3 of gross salary, whether it's hourly or yearly, and that needs to be determined by your insurance carrier. and that information is then electronically sent to the Work Comp Division, and all lost time claims are monitored, as I indicated before, when you start, stop, or change benefits. And adjusters have to electronically file that information. But they are very strict as to what is owed to their injured workers. And if you don't have that information, they will hound you and ask for more and more information, which will really make a lot of work for you. So complete that immediately so you don't start a paper trail with the Workers' Compensation Division. And then under the injury information, it's important. The injury date is very important for claims to be processed. Time, last day work if we have lost time, when you were notified is important. And then under date return to work or estimated date of return to work, if they returned, if you have that date because you're sending this in a little late, put the exact date of return to work. Otherwise, if it's unknown or estimated, put 6 to 8 weeks. Second line, if it's a death claim, we need to hear from you right away. Those claims have to be reported directly with a call to the Workers' Compensation Division, and their information is up on top of the right-hand side of this form. You have 24 hours within to contact them. Was this a lost time or other compensable injury? If it's lost time, check that. And if your employee came to work high or intoxicated, please put that down. If they were given safety tools and devices to use for their work and did not do that, check that. Or if they were insubordinate and failed to follow company policy, we need to know that. And that's because they can be fined themselves and penalized a percentage of their weekly benefits if they failed to adhere to those 3 practices. If you know where they went to seek medical treatment, that would be nice to know for the insurance carrier. And then, of course, the last section, the who, what, where, and why. You also do not want to put your feelings on this form. Keep it very sterile as to the facts, as this information is discoverable if this claim would go to litigation. So don't, put in there, this was our worst worker and he was just about to be fired, or, keep it very, very sterile as to what you know. And then sign your name and number so we can either call you or, of course, the insurance company. So keep it sterile, but to the facts only, please. So you reported the claim. You don't have to do a darn thing after that, right? Wrong. Very, very wrong. I want you to be active in your workers' compensation program, and I want you to be smart about it, but I want you also to let the insurance company do their job. And if they're not doing it, I want to hear from you, please. So what happens after you've done the work, you've notified the insurance company, what happens? If it's a lost time claim, as I said before, you should receive a telephone contact within 24 hours after they receive the claim and it is assigned to an adjuster. And all claims go through a clearinghouse. They're triaged internally at the insurance carrier. If it's medical only, it goes to a medical only unit where there'll be several people that handle those types of claims. If it's lost time, the insurance carrier may have several units of lost time adjusters that work for one supervisor. And this information you need to record and keep in a place that you can, obtain it very quickly. They'll introduce themselves, give you their name, get their name right, their spelling, their phone number, direct dial, and they'll give you a claim number. And those are the 3 essential items you need for your records. Because you may be getting a call from Dean Clinic saying, hey, I have this work comp claim here for John Jones. What's the claim number so I can bill that? You're going to get calls like that from outside medical providers. Also, when you call the insurance company, you can dial directly, and the claim number is very important. Because remember, these claim reps have like 130 to 160 claims. So not everybody can remember names, but they easily access the information with a claim number. So I talked a little bit about the best practice already where adjusters are making the 3-point contacts after the last assignment. We've talked about that already. And one complaint I do get from customers and clients is if they send in a medical-only claim, no one, you don't get a phone call. If it's a medical-only, it goes to what's called a fast-track unit. Calls aren't made. They likely do not contact your injured worker. It's, I slipped and fell, got 6 stitches to my knee, it's basically going to be a couple medical bills and the claim will be closed. If you would like to be contacted regarding that claim, please indicate that on your cover email, fax, or in the phone call that you send to the insurance carrier. And once again, if you're not getting contacted by the adjuster, please call us here at Hausman Johnson and we will connect you with the person. So if the claim is lost time, once again, you should hear from the adjuster. But once again, you'll have my number at the end of this. And Susan Dorsch, who's our manager here, is a claim specialist in workers' compensation as well. So we can help you out because we do have access to all our insurance carriers' websites. And many agencies, within Dane County or Madison might partner with 35 to 40 different insurance carriers. We keep it pretty simple and have great relationships with 12 to 15 different insurance carriers. So here's a tip, because I used to be an adjuster in the field for many, many years. I started when Jimmy Carter was president, so now you know how old I am. And then I managed a team for 27 years, and I retired for a year, and now I'm back here at Hausman Johnson, taunting them and torturing them. But I do enjoy it very much, and I want to be of help to you. So you have to think about an adjuster's world. Your assigned adjuster does not know your employees. You do. They don't know, but they're going to be adjusting the claim, paying the benefits, paying the bills. And so for a temporary period of time, they're going to be someone very, very important to your employee, because they're going to be replacing their paycheck. When the adjuster contacts you, please return the phone call immediately. They're not calling, to wish you a good day. They're calling to be helpful and answer, questions that need to be answered. So answer all of their questions. Be very candid with them. This is a time that you can be candid. If you don't have any concerns on the claim, please tell the adjuster that. However, if this injured employee is one of your worst employees, you better tattletale and tell them everything that you think would be pertinent to them. If they're a problem for you as an employer, they're going to be a problem for the adjuster. They may not keep medical appointments. They might not return phone calls. And this is only going to jeopardize their benefits, and then they're going to come complaining to you. So be very candid with your adjuster. So let's talk a little bit about claim adjusters, and they're different people. They have to be very, very organized. They are awesome people, and I'm going to exclude myself from the category because my role is different now than when I worked for insurance companies. I'm more of an advisor to you as a client. I don't work the claims, but in today's environment, claim adjusters are very overworked. Not only are they asked to meet people at their homes and take statements, but they have account calls to their clients. They're on the road. They might be doing education, and they're still handling a caseload. And once again, that caseload can be anywhere from 130 to 180 different people. So their day, just to keep up, is maybe 40 to 60 pieces of mail, 25 phone calls or more, taking statements, interrupted by their supervisor. They're busy, busy, busy people. So to get the best out of them, talk with them, find out what they prefer, if they prefer phone calls from you or emails, the same with you. Whatever works for you so that you can make this system flow and work for the best for both of you. But these adjusters, they need to be efficient. They need to know how to be decision makers. And if they don't, then we're in trouble. And they have to know how to work in a very chaotic and fast-paced arena. Any assistance that you can give them only benefits you. And this is where we come in at Hausman Johnson. If you can't get a hold of the adjuster, once again, give us a call. We can access their website. Susan and I have both been doing this job a long time. We can advise you what the law is. We can walk through scenarios with you if you're unsure how to report claims. And we can tell you when payments are made on medical bills or lost time. We have access to all that information. When they're going to the doctor next, what their medical treatment plan is. We're able to get all that information, and if we can't, we'll get it for you. So on that very first call, that very first dance you have with the adjuster, set your expectations on that first call. What are they going to be doing? And they should be explaining this to you, but if not, then you need to be asking, what should you be doing, more importantly? What are time frames? and what do I send into them, what email address, because many times insurance carriers have different addresses for just sending in a first report and then for sending in additional information after that. So you want to make sure the information you send gets to the right place. And if you're sending anything in by mail or fax or attachment, always put their claim number on it. Here's a very important tip. If the adjuster who's assigned to your injured worker's case, if they don't receive medical information pertaining to your employee's work status, this may jeopardize their benefits. After your employees see their doctor, they should be returning to work with a physical capability report or return to work slip, as I would call it, from your injured worker after every medical appointment. And this information should be faxed or emailed into the adjuster ASAP. It can be a slip that comes back and says, you know, Sarah Willis injured her knee. She should be on temporary light duty work, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And it's going to be for 4 weeks, but she's gradually going to increase her hours. We're going to cut down her hours, but she's gradually going to increase her hours until she sees the doctor again. So that is the lifeline of your employee's benefits. That information, because they can't get medical records right off the bat, but they can get these slips after they see their physician. And if they don't, they need to go back to the doctor and get one, or make a call right in your office to get that information faxed to you. So I get this question quite a bit. What do I do if the employee doesn't give me that information? And that happens. It is the employee's responsibility to obtain this information. Either make your employee go back and get this, or have them call their doctor's office from your office or their cell phone. But that's what they need to do. Have that doctor fax information to you directly, as you have to, as said previously, get that to the insurance carrier. You should not take that employee back to work until you know what the physician is allowing them to do. With any type of sprains or strains to the shoulder, back, or knee, 99% of the time your injured workers can be released to return to work, but it's going to be probably at some type of restricted duty for a period of time. That's how strains are healed over time, and probably doing a little less or doing something temporarily than their pre-injury job. But you don't want to make that injury worse. You don't want to violate what the doctor has instructed them to do. So that is the importance of having that information. Let your injured employee know, and let all your employees know prior to having a claim that you expect them fully to cooperate with their adjuster. So you might even have paperwork internally that you have your injured employees take with them to the doctor, but that is their responsibility, and they should know that up front. You know, the ultimate goal in workers' compensation is to get your injured employee back to work with the best medical care available, and to indemnify or make them as whole as possible during this process. So after that initial call from the adjuster, you're probably thinking, well, what the heck is that adjuster doing? Why haven't I heard from them? Now, really and truly, adjusters do have a method to the madness. Remember, their caseloads, and of course that isn't your problem, but they may be very hard, to get a hold of because they're on the phone quite a bit. So what they do internally is they begin their fact-finding investigation on the following information. And it truly is an investigation. They're looking at the type of injury. They're looking at the facts of the injury. They're looking for discrepancies as to what is told to you versus what is told to the doctor's office. And those have to jive. That information has to jive. Otherwise, this can become a questionable claim. Do you have a job description you can send with your employee or fax later on to the adjuster? Were there any witnesses? Because they might want to take a statement from the injured worker, or witnesses in person or over the phone. They're going to order medical records as soon as they are made aware of who the medical provider is to get the medical treatment. And remember, in Wisconsin, when someone makes a claim, they waive their privacy or HIPAA laws for that particular injury and from the date of injury forward. A medical authorization is not required under law. However, medical providers make this very difficult, or can, in getting medical records, and might request a medical authorization. So if your injured employee has had similar prior injuries to the same body part, the adjuster will, especially if they're headed to surgery or this appears to be a claim that's going to be lengthy, the adjuster will send out a medical authorization to your injured employee to get those records that, well, as they may be, they will be very pertinent, and they will send a medical authorization for them to sign and return so that they can get the information. Maybe several facilities, it may be just one, but that is very important to the adjuster's investigation. So putting all that information together along with recorded statement helps the adjuster determine if what has occurred is compensable or work-related. And before payments are made, under the law, just because something happens at work does not mean it's work-related, and the law is very specific about that. That's why adjusters really are doing a true investigation. Remember the time frame, 14 days from the last day work. So to get the best bang out of your buck for the adjusters, it does behoove you to report the claims on a timely basis. And once the decision has been made, they'll start their payments for lost wages, and medical bills will be processed. And the adjusters will use an automatic pay system for your injured workers so that they continue, to pay their bills on a timely basis. And it's generated by a computer on a weekly basis, and it creates for less human error and more timely for the adjusters to spend on other issues. And their medical bills received, most likely, are going to go to a third-party bill review service that insurance companies use to look at all medical bills for reasonableness and necessity. And the workers' compensation does allow that, but it's going to take a couple weeks for that process to be processed, and then they'll come back to the adjuster to be paid. So bills aren't going to be paid the same day as received. And then the adjuster is going to reach out and talk to your employee after each medical appointment to find out what's happened, what's the medical treatment plan going to be, and when are they going to be seen next. And then they may assign a nurse to attend those appointments with your employee. Many insurance carriers don't employ their own nurses, and they'll use a vendor for geographically to attend appointments with your employee to speak to the doctor afterwards, or go in with the employee when they're being examined. And it's just another set of eyes and ears, and someone that can talk the lingo with the doctor and then transfer that information to the adjuster. And once again, the adjusters have to be continuously ordering updated medical records to include physical therapy, MRI reports, CAT scan reports, anything. They won't pay any medical bill without a report that goes with that bill, and rightly so. And once again, there should be a progression of healing when work restrictions are given by the doctor, and they should get lighter, they should decrease after each appointment. So let's say John Jones was given a 30-pound lifting restriction, and then again seen by the doctor at 4 weeks, you should see a decrease. So then it goes to 20 pounds, so on until they're back to their pre-injury job. So that's what the adjuster is looking for when handling their claims. So what to do with naughty employees? And this happens. So what if the employee skips medical treatment appointments or postpones and reschedules? Sadly, this happens quite frequently, and this can elongate their claim, and then they continue to get benefits because the insurance carrier can't stop payments willy-nilly. It has to be a specific reason. If this becomes a pattern, we will want you as the employer to talk with them about this, and you should be continuing your conversations with them because there's still an employee-employer relationship going on. So we don't like to see this. Their full-time job when they're injured should be to get better and to get back to work at their regular job. What if your other employees come and say, hey, I saw Jack baling hay last week, or he's up on his roof, shingling, or was lifting his first grader or grandchild. What happens with information like that, and what do you do with it? There's a couple things. You need to contact your adjuster and report this to them, and what they will turn around and do is contact the doctor And, well, first of all, the information needs to be verified. And this is where the rubber meets the road. That person should write out a statement and sign it so that that information can be sent to the adjuster. Hearsay doesn't go with doctors or the Workers' Compensation Division. So if employers are willing to tell you this, they need to back it up with a signed statement of what they saw. Because work restrictions are 24 hours a day. So if your employee has a 20-pound weight restriction, you see them carrying their 50-pound grandchild, and that's usually a kindergartner or first grader, your adjuster needs to remind them that work restrictions are 24 hours a day. They're not just during the work hours. And once again, that information can be taken to the doctor, and some doctors get very upset when people fool with their patients. They're very, very prideful and may say, oh, well, that's just life. He's got a grandkid, he's got to carry him around. But others may be considerate and say, well, yeah, if he's doing this type of activity, then I think he can go back to his job. So that might be an impetus at some time for people to be aware that they need to follow their work restrictions. So on the other side of the coin, I want you, the employer, to think about and realize that not all claims are fraudulent. People do have lives outside of work. Things need to get done. So not every claim made are fraudulent. Also, if people see them, carrying a grandchild or carrying groceries or doing something else, life does have to go on, for these injured workers. But if it's something that you feel is totally out of place, you should be reporting that to your work comp carrier. So, once again, we talked about insurance carriers just can't stop paying weekly benefits because somebody witnesses something or they miss an appointment. Once they start, stop, or change benefits, all that information is sent electronically to the work comp division, and then they're going to be calling the adjuster and find out what are you doing with this guy's benefits. They're very, very protective of injured workers in the state of Wisconsin, and that's their job. So how do insurance companies pay my injured employees? Where does the money come from? And I think this is an elementary question, but it is a great question. When a claim is set up that involves lost time, there are really two pots of money and what are called reserves established on the claim. There's one set aside for medical bills, and there's one set aside for lost time. And the money has to reflect the adjuster's best projection for what that probable cost of the claim may be from start to finish. So if somebody has a broken leg in Superior and they're in really great shape and the doctor says, they're going to be off 6 weeks. So that adjuster doesn't have a book to look at that information in a medical book or like an underwriter does when they're looking at a policy. It's just based on your adjuster's experience that, this person, no surgery required, probably will be off 6 to 8 weeks, unless you, the employer, can find them some temporary work to do. But it's set up, it's not a science, it is more of an art. And it depends, are you going to pay the same for an injured worker in Superior as you are for downtown Milwaukee? There's going to be different costs for different geographical areas. So the reserves are set for what the outcome of that claim will be. And once again, those reserves are what impacts your premium directly. So if you have any questions about reserves set, if you feel they're too high, that's when you're welcome to give us a call here. You can talk to the adjuster about it, but Susan and I were both managers, and we set claims up and we set reserves, so we can tell you if that reserve is appropriate or if it's too high or maybe too low. But money is drawn from these reserves for both lost wages and medical bills over the time of the claim. And that's where your premium comes into play. With the money you pay into your insurance carrier is funneled to pay for claims. And once again, the amount of paid bills and remaining reserves is what directly correlates to your insurance premium that you pay. So let's talk a little bit about your report card and how claims can affect your status as an employer. 18 months from the start of your policy date, all claims that have occurred during the prior policy term, medical only, and lost time, are reported either to the Wisconsin Compensation Rating Bureau for businesses that are domiciled in Wisconsin, or NCCI, which is for your businesses that are domiciled here, but you do work in other states, and that's the National Reporting Regulatory Agency. So this information reflects your claims history. In a perfect world, it's desirable if all claims, it'd be great if all claims that occurred in that prior policy term are closed. That doesn't usually happen, though. But that means that you, your agent, and the claims staff and insurance carrier are all working in sync for you, and we want to make sure those claims are cleaned up. That's where Susan and I come in, making sure that claims are closed timely for you, that they're appropriately reserved. So when your report card goes in to calculate your future premium, we want you to look as best as you can. Cost containment programs. To save you money, over the years, insurance companies have been wonderful about connecting themselves with vendors to save money on what they pay out for you, but they pass those savings on to you, the client, by getting discounts on bills that they have to pay. Many of the insurance carriers, or all of them, have contracts or called PPOs, or preferred provider options, with many medical facilities within the state of Wisconsin for preferred provider savings. And these would include hospital stays, surgeons, medical bills from doctors, physical therapy programs, prescription programs, diagnostic studies like your MRIs, your CAT scan, your PET scans. A normal MRI can cost anywhere from $3,500 to $6,500 depending where it's done. And the price that insurance companies can get with their preferred provider programs is somewhere around $1,800. So let's talk about a second way to save money for you, and I mean a lot of money as an employer. And this is having a return to work program. And this is probably second to reporting claims timely, the most easiest way for you as the employer to save money. So in Wisconsin, anytime your employees are injured and they only have medical claims no lost time, when the timing comes that we've talked about and the claims are reported to the rating bureau, they're going to give you a 70% discount on that claim, and that's because they're encouraging you to report all medical onlys versus paying them yourself. So John Jones is injured, has a $1,000 bill at Dean Clinic, and when that claim comes for the report card to be turned in to the rating bureau, it's only going to read that $300 was paid. So they're going to give you a 70% discount, which is great, on all your medical only claims. So to keep a claim medical only, on the fourth day of lost time, and this includes Saturdays, even if they don't work Saturdays, it includes Saturdays, you need to bring your employee back to work within the work restrictions given by the physician at their regular pay and hours to keep this medical only and not have that lost time reserved. There can absolutely be no discrepancy in their paycheck. Once again, if they're if they're given restrictions, it's going to include physical limitations of lifting, maybe or hours as well as physical limitations. And this, of course, will require you to find temporary jobs, as employees may not be able to work at their pre-injury jobs. So that's something where you want to be proactive as well. Finding temporary jobs. We've had clients that have had people sit at a desk and do all their shredding from the entire office. They can sit or stand backwards, whatever they want to do, but they shred paper all day long. Some people could work in the office. Maybe if your employees don't have that aptitude to do that, they can be cleaning. There's always something to be cleaned or painted. The main thing is that you as the employer honor the restrictions given by the physician. And remember, this is only a temporary job. This isn't a permanent job. It's a temporary job they can do, but you're still paying them their full wages so they can get back. They can do the rehab at work. They're back with their fellow employees. They're still in the routine. You have your eyes on them until they're able to get back to their pre-injury job. And it has to be reasonable. It can't be anything demeaning. You can also have them work at different locations or different hours, but it has to be within the physical limitations given by the doctor. So what happens? There's a birth, there's a life to a claim, and then there's a conclusion or a death. So in Wisconsin, the law dictates that all medical treatment related to the work injury will be covered until the treating physician has declared the worker released from care, or we call it end of healing, a medical plateau, maximum medical improvement. That's the best they're going to be, and the doctor will discharge them. Some injuries may take several years to conclude. Some people are on workers' compensation the rest of their life if they've had a severe injury. Now in Wisconsin, it used to be 12 years from the date of the last indemnity payment. Governor Walker signed into law 2 years ago that the statute of limitations will be 6 years from the last indemnity payment. So that was a law that fell to you and the insurance carriers as a plus. And there's also a requirement within the law that if your employee misses more than 3 weeks of work, their treating physician or surgeon, if applicable, must prepare a final report. And this report is sent to the work comp division. And they, once again, they're monitoring the lost time claims. So that is a requirement for the physicians to do. And this is in particular if any of the following have occurred due to their injury, because additional benefits may be owed. If they've had an amputation, a finger, a leg, an arm, loss of an eye, or bone loss. With the amputation, they lost a percentage of their bone. Surgeries, specific surgical cases, like when you have a back surgery and they take out part of your disc. Chronic pain, sensitivity to cold, loss of range of motion. If you have a shoulder injury, are you able to, lift your arm 180 degrees from your side of your body, or you can't lift it above your shoulder height. So all of these things can occur in what's called permanent partial disability, and that is figured or awarded by the treating practitioner, physician, or surgeon. And then that benefit is then calculated by a yearly rate by the Workers' Compensation Division. And this isn't a life award, but it's paid out weekly, but that's an error. It's paid out monthly, but based on a weekly calculation until concluded. And the adjuster can let you know what they think that will be and what it will cost. But that information has to come from the doctor. We have a hard time getting the doctors to fill them out, but that is due to the severity of your injury. So once the permanent partial payments have concluded, the carrier electronically notifies the work comp division. They close their file, then the adjuster can close their file. It has to go in that order. So claims have to be closed by the division first before the insurance carrier can close theirs. So let's recap our roles. The employer, please report claims as soon as possible. Stay involved and in contact with your injured worker. You still have the employer-employee relationship. You can be the good guy, let the insurance carrier be the bad guy if that's the case. Stay in contact with your claims adjuster. They can be your best friend on a claim, and have a return to work program in place. And with all of that, you will lead to success. You can't lose. The injured worker must know from you who to report injuries to. Be aware of reporting all injuries timely to the appropriate person. They can't report it if they don't know who to tell. They must be compliant with the medical treatment assigned by their physician. They need to fully cooperate with the assigned adjuster on requests made, and keep you up to date on return to work status by coming back after each appointment and giving you that return to work slip. The insurance company, what are their obligations? You pay a lot of money to them, and we've talked about that. Prompt contacts to the employer, injured worker, and treating physician to set the pace of the claim. They are required to investigate the legitimacy of a claim. If they accept it, they'll tell you why. If they deny it, they will tell you why. It is their responsibility to keep the claim going in a progressive manner and not just sit there. They need to make decisions. They need to make them on a timely basis, and the claim needs to keep moving. They also should be controlling your costs to you, the employer, by using all of their company's cost containment programs. It is their job to keep you informed when appropriate communicating return to work information to the treating practitioner. If you have light duty work, please let them know, and they will communicate that information to the treating physician, either with job descriptions or detailed information on temporary jobs. And then they need to be continuously educating you and the injured worker on the claims process, on claims laws that are applicable, and to treat them fairly and equitably and firmly. So with all of that, I'm done talking. Do you have any questions, please?
We have a question saying, do you not count Sundays for lost days, just Saturdays?
Right. Wisconsin calculates their benefits, their weekly benefits, based on a 6-day work week, and that's not uncommon. Every state is different in the country. Some use 5 days, some use 6, some use 7, but Wisconsin is 6, irregardless if your employee works 5. Your paychecks are considered for 6 days.
Another question is, if a doctor says they have to be off work, how do you communicate that we have a light duty available for the employee? Sometimes I feel like doctors would let them go back to work on restrictions. They just don't know that an electrician would be accommodated for 5-pound lifting restrictions.
Oh, sure. And that is your job, or the job of the adjuster, to make sure that prior to medical appointments, once after initial treatment has been established, and if it's a serious injury, there is appropriate healing time. But as soon as you can, make that doctor aware of what they have available, and that can be explained by you calling the nurse and getting that information to the doctor, faxing information to the doctor's office. Many times the nurse case manager is assigned by insurance carriers, and they'll hand take that information into the doctor's appointment, or the insurance adjuster. But that information, to save you money, because the clock is ticking when there's lost time, that information should be made available to the doctor's office, either through his nurse, or they may have a workers' compensation department at the clinic that's big enough. But that's, we can't assume, and they shouldn't assume. So if you have available, there's some employers that tell the doctor, we always have work available, and that is a good stance to be able to take.
Our last question will be, what if an employee doesn't want the temporary work you offer them?
Oh, well, they can make that choice, but guess what? Then they don't get a paycheck. They don't get a paycheck from their employer, and they don't get a paycheck for the insurance company, and that's law.
I actually have one more. What are some of the best practices for dealing with an employee who does not want to cooperate with IME results? Their own physician is saying to the employee that he shouldn't participate in this PT program that IME recommended.
Oh, that happens too. When an independent medical evaluation is scheduled by the insurance company, we didn't talk about that, but the insurance company and you as the employer have the right to schedule an independent medical evaluation with the physician of their choice to question the length of medical treatment, the type of medical treatment, work restrictions, permanent partial disability, and whatever they came back, whatever that report comes back, either confirming with the treating practitioner or drawing a line in the sand saying no more medical treatment. Whatever they suggest for medical treatment has to be adhered, and they'll usually say, I recommend further physical therapy within 6 weeks or 4 weeks. If after that time they haven't improved or taken that suggestion, then that information is sent by the adjuster to that IME doctor, and they'll issue a supplemental report stating, okay, this wasn't complied with, I'm going to give end of healing, and then the line is drawn in the sand. So there's a back and forth with that independent medical evaluation physician and the insurance company to dial it down to every question or situation that occurs to finalize medical treatment.
So what is the employee's responsibility and appropriate action if they are offered light duty and experience pain or other symptoms and need to leave early?
And that happens. In that instance, they need to go back to their doctor immediately. They need to go back to the treating doctor's office to be evaluated and to get further status on their return to work capabilities. Maybe their restrictions need to be, increased. Maybe they need to stay off of work. Maybe they need further medical treatment. But that happens quite a bit, and they can leave the work, but they're not going to get paid until it shows that they've gone to the doctor and what their status is. So just make sure they get back to their physician.
How would you recommend we document their decision to not take temporary work?
Oh, very easily. Make it very simple. I know the majority of you are HR people, and you have a lot on your plate, and things have to be pretty clear and concise. If that information is, we always say to send out a letter to Joe Jones, you're offering light duty work. And if they respond with a letter back saying no, or it's a text or an email, keep that information, because that may be the beginning of a controverted claim or a claim that's going to end up in litigation. So all correspondence keep as received, and then document when you received it. So that, just like anything else, you document this disciplinary steps, document this return to work process. Joe responded back, I'm not coming back to work, and keep it in file.
How would you deal with pre-existing conditions that flare up?
And that's the main, that is a big issue in Wisconsin, because in Wisconsin you take the employee as is, warts and all. So any pre-existing condition they have, whether they exacerbated or accelerated or precipitated, you as the current employer are going to be owed for medical treatment to get them back to their pre-existing, what I say is their crappy condition, back to that pre-existing condition. But the point is to make sure the medical treatment says that it is a temporary aggravation. I repeat that it is a temporary aggravation of a pre-existing condition, and you're not stuck paying for surgeries due to pre-existing conditions. So that you're looking for in the medical records from the physician.
That looks to be all of the questions we have. Thank you, Peg, for doing today's webinar on the life cycle of a workers' compensation claim. If you have questions that you thought of after this webinar and haven't put them in maybe a couple days, you think of a very good question, we'll have Peg's information here for you to write down. And we will also be showing a slide with the continuing education credits for the Society of Human Resources and the Human Resource Certification Institute. Thank you.